50 plus tips in 7 days to die. I split these tips into 6 different categories. Here are them listed, and if you want to go to a specific one, I will put the timestamps down below. Let's get straight into it with number 1. Don't be afraid to mess with your settings and change the game to your liking. I often see people saying that the game feels too slow for certain things that they can actually change in the settings. There's no reason to be afraid to change any of them, such as XP multiplier, loot abundance, block damage, and much more. If it enhances your in-game experience, then go ahead and adjust it. Another tip, know that if you boost your XP multiplier or just grind to rank up super fast, the faster you level up, the tougher the zombies you'll encounter. So keep this in mind if you do want to boost your XP multiplier. While you probably shouldn't increase your XP multiplier as a new player, you might want to increase your quest progression limit to 8. This will allow you to go through the trader tiers faster to unlock the bicycle as soon as possible, which is an essential item for early game and beginners. If you are achievement hunting, any type of creative mode or debug menu will disable achievements, so don't turn them on unless you don't care about achievements. If you want to know what the best map to start on is, I've heard recommendations for 6k random generation with the forest biome in the center. In my past tips and tricks video, I did say that Navezgane would be the best, but thanks to the comments, more specifically shout out to Skizzo, who on the last video recommended doing random generation instead so that there is less travel time. And you should note that if you do choose to go with a pre-gen map, it is possible that a trader is missing, which will prevent you from your 1.0 progression. And remember, you can't change your map, but you can change your settings at any time, so it's worth being careful with the map you generate. Navezgane is good, but you will expect to have to travel long distances to get to each city. Now moving into the things that you should begin to do right away. If you haven't already, do your beginner quest to be sent to your first trader. Access these quests by clicking on the trophy icon in your player's menu as shown here. These are also good so you can learn some of the very basic mechanics. If you plan on doing these quests, as I recommend, you also might want to look into spending skill points on the Daring Adventurer. This perk will just help to increase your quest rewards. Also, make sure to double dip with quests. What do I mean by this? Well, when you loot a location and begin a quest at the same location, all the loot will replenish. You might not want to go through the whole house again, but you should do the easily accessible ones outside, such as a car or mailbox. Then, once you start the quest, you can go ahead and loot them again, and then just go and complete the actual quest. You will unlock a new trader tier every 7 quests, which at default is capped by the 4 quests a day. That's why I did recommend that you raise that number to 8 in the settings. Whenever you do reach the next tier, you will be given a bicycle, allowing for an easy way to travel faster and extra storage. To access the extra storage, go ahead and hold the interact button on the bicycle and you will see this scroll wheel, and go ahead and hover over the bag icon. While you are traveling at any point, if you see a tree stump, make sure to break it for the chance of honey. Honey will help cure infections by up to 5%. It is a good one to have on hand at all times just in case, as when you get infected you have to look for one and it can take a while. You probably won't encounter any regular or herbal antibiotics until later into the game. I do have a full video for this on my channel tagged here, and real quick, if you guys could click the subscribe button down below, greatly appreciated. It's also good to know that tree stumps found in the middle of nowhere have about 20% odds of giving you honey, and the ones found near points of interest have about 40% odds of giving you honey. So make sure to prioritize looking for them while in cities. Vitamins are also used to reduce the chance of infections. If you do have some vitamins lying around and don't know what to do with them, go ahead and take them to take a preventive measure against infections. Also, if you are playing multiplayer, you should make sure to add your friends by going to the Players tab and adding them in the Party and Allies column. By being in the same party, you will begin to progress together, sharing XP from quests and kills. As you're heading towards the night, you should pick a building as soon as possible, ideally next to the trader, to dedicate as your starter base. This is so that you have somewhere to leave a sleeping bag and storage chests to leave miscellaneous items that may prove to be useful later. You will probably deal a lot with being encumbered early on, and there are multiple ways to counter this that you should know of. The most obvious one is Pack Mule. You can use your skill points to upgrade this attribute, which will unlock more slots. 2 is mods. You can attach increased slot mods to armor and increase the total amount of slots you can carry before being encumbered. Doing this method is more useful since you don't have to waste your skill points. 3rd, certain types of armor do give extra slots of inventory depending on the tier. These armor types include the chest part for Lumberjack, Scavenger, and Nomad. While all of these aren't easily attainable early game, it's very good to know the alternatives so you don't waste too many points to get Pack Mule and instead diversify elsewhere. Make sure you are looking out for magazines. You should be getting all the magazines you can from trader rewards, and look for the magazine hotspots. Magazines are a crucial part of this game, so this is a very important tip if you are new. They are now needed for progression and can only be found by looting in quests. Magazines once again can be received from traders by either quest rewards or for purchase. If you want to find them, they are commonly found in mailboxes, newspaper boxes, bookshelves, and bookstores. You might want to consider saving your magazines and wait until you have the Nerd Outfit. The Nerd Outfit gives you a boosted chance to get double the points of one magazine. So with it maxed out at level 6, you have a 50% chance of getting that bonus point. So odds are that if you read 15 of the same magazine, you should get 15 points instead of 10. This outfit is not easily accessible early game, I just wanted to let you know that this is possible just in case you do come across it. If you are looking for specific magazines, they can be found in loot places typically associated with their respective items. For example, if you are looking for food-based magazines, you can find them in the food piles or kitchen cabinets. You can also increase the odds of magazine dropping for a specific type when putting perk points into the related skills. Again, using food as an example, by upgrading Master Chef in the food category, this will increase the odd for food-related magazines. Speaking of which, let's move into the food and water tips. Look for cooking pots and grills in kitchens as well as traders' inventories. You will want to get both of these as soon as possible to use in a campfire. If you aren't having any luck finding these, try to craft a forge as soon as possible. This again does require books, but you should be able to encounter one or the other as you are going through the game. With the forge, you can actually craft your own pot and grill by smelting iron and clay. Food and water will be hard to come by early game. Make sure to take out any animals you may encounter such as deer, rabbits, or snakes. Then harvest them with a sharp weapon such as a bone knife or an actual knife to harvest more from one animal. If you are getting unlucky and not finding anything to help with food or water early game, you should consider buying food and water from vending machines and traders. The deals might not be great, but as a new player and also in the early game, this might be your best choice. If you can get red tea for purchase, this will be a great choice to satisfy thirst and also reduce your consumption of food. Make sure to keep any murky water bottles you find to save for the campfire. You can't boil these until you have a cooking pot, so if you don't have one yet, just keep them stored for the meantime. Make a water dew as soon as possible to have a consistent supply for water. You simply need 2 workstation magazines for these, so as you progress through the game, you should be able to encounter these and be able to build a water dew. Once you build a water dew, you can add additional mods, which includes the Gatherer for faster water collection rate, the Tarp, which increases storage to collect more waters at once, and then the water filter to get clean water instead of murky water. Check your food and water stats in the menu by going to the character, then clicking the 4 bars. From here, you can see where your hunger and thirst sit before the game tells you that you are low. You can decide to eat or drink food currently in your inventory to save some more space. To reduce the food and water consumption permanently, you can increase the perk Iron Gut found in the Fortitude section. There are also armors such as Nomad's Helmet that will also help to decrease food and water loss, but you probably won't encounter this type of armor until late in the game. If you have a water emergency, you can drink water from lakes by bringing out your hands and clicking the drink button. You can get sick from this, so I don't recommend it. This is only if you are in a dire situation with no other choice. Now moving into some combat tips as well as armor. You should place a block in between doorways when in a building to create a sort of one-way for zombies that will allow you to hit them without worrying about getting hit when you keep the right distance. This is very useful when you have nothing but a level 1 weapon to kill zombies, and even then later in the game it's still useful to do this strategy to weed out the zombies one by one. You can also keep repairing the block just to keep them held up for as long as you need. Speaking of level 1 weapons, I recommend starting off with the stone sledgehammer to start. This is a powerful weapon that is good for killing a few zombies at a time during the day. You should also look to use distance-based weapons. Early game, you obviously won't have access to crazy guns, and even if you did find one, you probably want to save your ammo for Horde Night. Well, your best budget options are the spear and the bow. Both can be easily made and are your best weapon choice for keeping a distance when attacking zombies. With this though, you do want to be on the lookout for bird nests. These are very much so needed for collecting feathers, and you can craft a lot of arrows. Arrows are not only very easy to make, but they are also reusable. Very often they will not break when they hit a zombie, allowing for you to pick it back up and use it again. Try to be stealthy before you do execute an attack. If you see an idle zombie that is sleeping and is unaware of your location, try to sneak up on that zombie and get a free shot with either a melee or a ranged weapon, ideally whichever one's the quietest. From this you'll get a good sneak damage boost, allowing you to often kill the zombies in just one shot. This will mainly be useful in points of interest where zombies won't wake up until you are loud enough. So that's why you want to use a quiet weapon, because if you do use a pistol to go ahead and stealth attack them, the rest of them will wake up. But if you do use something like a bow, the other zombies around them are less likely to wake up. You also want to try to avoid stepping on trash and glass on the floor, as that can also create noise waking up nearby zombies. No matter which weapon you do decide to use, you should be putting your skill points into the respective skills. For example, with the sledgehammer, you should upgrade Skull Crusher. You can find this under the strength category. By doing this for whichever weapon you use, you allow for more efficient attacks. Each weapon has their own respective skills that you can upgrade, so try to find the one that best suits you. Speaking of suit, this game has over 16 different armor sets that each have their own stats and bonuses. If you want the full details for each set, as well as the combination I recommend running, I have a video up for that on my channel already. I will tag that here at the end of the video as well. While we are on that topic, make sure to subscribe for more 7 Days to Die content like this, and greatly appreciate you guys for taking the time out of your day to do so. So to keep it simple and for the early game, you should start with the full primitive armor. It doesn't offer any bonuses, so as you find new pieces of armor, you should go ahead and upgrade. But of course, this armor is still better than no armor, and it's cheap to make. If you find armor that you have no use for, you can go ahead and scrap them for armor parts, which can then be used to craft your desired armor later on. To craft better armor, you want to look for the armored up skill magazines, and to increase the loot odds for these magazines, you just have to upgrade any of your attributes. So as you're spending your skill points on any of the attributes, your odds of finding armor up will go up. Also, while you are looting, you will likely come across legendary parts. You won't need these early game, but hold on to them so that you can eventually craft level 6 armor and weapons to get the full bonus for those items. Next, moving into resources and harvesting. You can look for specific mine nodes on the map. Each type of material you need to mine can be spotted on the map. They are correlated as follows. The white one is nitrate, the brownish one is iron, the bluish one is lead, the almost transparent one is an oil deposit, and the black one is coal. Travel to these nodes and you should see a piece sticking out that leads to a stockpile more underneath. You can also see more common elements such as clay, stone, and sand. Just look for the change in texture on the map and go to that location. You also don't have to go out to the middle of nowhere in order to find these nodes. Some are located in the towns. However, the oil ones can only be found in the desert biome. To get more from mining, you can look to get the miner armor set or upgrade your miner 69er and motherlode skills, which will also boost the loot odds for the tools digest magazine, which will eventually unlock the ability to craft better tools. Next tip is to salvage everything. There will be a lot of random things that you can salvage with either an axe or a wrench for useful materials. For example, you can get cloth fragments from a couch or iron pipes from a toilet. In the early game, it is best to get as much as possible and figure out what you need later on. Also, pickup items are often able to be scrapped for useful items such as wood or iron. You should also look to see what other items you can scrap inside of your inventory that you do not plan on using or selling. This will help to save storage space and stack up on actual useful material. As I mentioned earlier, you'd probably want to do this with low level armor to get the armor parts and low level weapons that you don't plan on using. You can wrench mechanical items such as cars, broken vending machines, air conditioners, and more to get useful material. Basically anything that has been man-made can be broken down for useful parts. Try to collect as much duct tape as you can. It is essential for crafting many important items. If you are having trouble finding duct tape specifically, you can collect glue and cloth fragments to craft your own duct tape. As you are doing quests and looting buildings, you might want to look for these little panels. You'll sometimes see a part of the wall sticking out or something that just quite doesn't blend in well. You can usually take it out in one hit, and behind it will typically be some type of loot like a backpack or a purse. So just be on the lookout for different types of these as you are playing the game. Now finally, for some building tips. Now I will say building does go very deep and can have its own separate video, which I probably will work on one day. But for now, here are some basic tips. When using these building blocks, you can hold R. I'm not exactly sure what it is on console, so if anybody wants to let everyone know. But by holding that button, you can change the block to whatever shape you desire. Some of the options include stairs, slabs, fences, and many more. You probably already know that you can upgrade a block by right-clicking it with the stone axe, but you can also use the claw hammer to do so faster with only 2 hits. And once you get the nail gun, you can do it all in 1 hit. If you have an example block that you want to copy, you can go ahead and hold R or whatever button it is for you, and go ahead and copy that block shape. Now the block will be placed exactly as that shape you copied. From this wheel, you can also go to Advanced. What Advanced does is give you access to different rotations. So normally when you're rotating, it might just spin in a circle over and over again. With Advanced, it'll rotate in every kind of direction until you get what you need. When designing your main base or your day 7 base, you should know that zombies will look to take the path of least resistance. So if you build the entire wall and leave one part weaker than the rest, they will attack the weaker part to get in. Or if they find a hole in the wall, they will likely all funnel there. You can even take it further, and if you do create different pathings, they will go ahead and take the shorter one. And if you make it impossible for them to reach you, they will go ahead and start destroying everything around you. Though if your strategy is to just hide on Horde Night, they will likely eventually catch up to you just by breaking through. For that reason is why your normal storage and crafting base should be different than your Horde base. You do not want your storages or workbenches and forges getting destroyed. Also, if enough of the bottom of the base is destroyed by the zombies, the entire building will eventually collapse. Wooden spikes are going to be your main trap for zombies early game. You mainly want to place these traps so that one zombie isn't able to break a hole into the base, letting the rest in. You should eventually try to upgrade to blade traps and further down the line the electric traps. But the traps as well can have their whole video to go over. For any beginning tips you believe you would have liked to know as a beginner, make sure to leave them in the comments. I tried to spew out as many tips as I could. I could probably continue to do far more for intermediate to advanced players, and really there could be another 50 tips for building alone. So do subscribe for more of those, but for now, hope you got something from this one as a new player, and until next time, love ya, see ya.